Okay, it's about 2 minutes after. Let's just get started, okay? So my name is Matt Puthoff. I'm an applications engineer here with CAMS. I've been in manufacturing for about 8 years now. Been with CAMS for a little over a year. But I do our training classes and just kind of general support. Looking at the list, I think I've talked to a couple of you guys. And then Brian, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hey guys, thanks for joining us today. As you guys know, a lot of you guys on the people list here have talked to me before here, but I've been an application engineer and director of software services for CAMS for about 16 years now, and definitely been using the software for a while, and we welcome Matt on board. If you guys haven't talked to him, he's one of our newer employees, but well-adversed and has been doing great, and he's going to do the presentation today. So if you guys have questions, I will answer them the best I can. You can type them in, and some of the questions that we can also defer to the end for a Q&A session. So I'll kind of be Matt's kind of co-pilot behind the scenes, hoping things go smoothly. So again, if you guys have questions, feel free to type them in or save them to the end, and we'll do our best to get them covered. So thank you guys for your time today, and Matt, I'll hand it back to you.
Awesome, thank you, Brian. All right, so an update. Thank you guys for joining us. Manufacturing is in our DNA here at CAMS. We have a lot of things we do here. First and foremost, thing we're talking about today is CAMWorks. We've been one of the original. We're one of the original resellers, and we've been with CAMWorks since they started. Lot of knowledge base there. We recently became a certified SolidWorks reseller. Bringing everyone up to speed on that. We've got our team around there. I think some of you guys, we might even be supporting you with SolidWorks. SolidWorks CAM, which says they're powered by CAMWorks. It is CAMWorks. I've had guys in my training class who have gone through the class and they use SolidWorks CAM. Uses the same kind of strategies and techniques, similar TechDB. A lot of the same thing there. And then our 3D printers, Mark Forged, out of Boston. These guys make, super strong parts. They can put, line it with carbon fiber and Kevlar and all this awesome stuff. And then our other 3D printer is BigRep. And, really the big thing with these two is Mark Forged is, super strong parts. They also have I forgot to mention, a kind of two main materials, Onyx, and then we have their Metal X. We have one at the shop. It's pretty cool. How they can do it is amazing. That's and then BigRep is big stuff. Obviously, it's if you want to print a really big part, BigRep is a great asset there. And then our kind of sixth area is just CAMS itself. What we can do now, we have machine shop that is up and running. If you guys have spillover or something you need to just get done quick, reach out to us. We'll see what we can do there. And then any announcement, it's this new and exciting time we live in where, more and more everyone's working from home. For instance, right now I'm in my kitchen, but still fully operational. CAMS is 100% operational. Everyone is still on board. We're going full steam ahead. It's minimal disruption in services. Every once in a while, if I have to go to the plant or to do something, I'll go. But otherwise, we are up and running, and we're here to support you guys as some of you transition to working from home. So the actual presentation today is going to be about TechDB customization. Here the TechDB is really the heart of CAMWorks. It's what sets it apart from all the competition. It's knowledge-based machining, where we like to tell people, like, you can teach your computer, you can teach the TechDB how you program, and then that will translate into success in the future, where all of a sudden it's just doing things automatically that you taught it. So it's incredible what you can do, and so here's kind of the overview of what we're going to go over today. It was kind of difficult actually to narrow it down to try to keep it within like about 45 minutes. because, you know, we, in our training course that I teach, we have our third day of training for mill is just about a little over half the day is just TechDB. And even then, you're talking 4 to 6 hours. I could go 2 days if you guys let me, going over each individual little thing. So today we are going to talk about 1, how to set up a tool crib, 2, setting up a machine, 3, we're going to go over features and strategies, and that'll encompass, you know, the importance of understanding the definition of features, and then how to actually create strategies. And then lastly, importing and linking to an existing technology database, TechDB. And then the last part will be questions and answers. We'll open it up. You guys can ask whatever you want. Brian and I are here. We'll stay until we're done. So, all right, first things first, setting up a tool crib. This is important. You know, why would I want a different tool crib? For instance, different machines and materials. You know, if you machine, you know, plastics and tool steel, you're going to use different tools. You don't want to machine tool steel with necessarily the things you would machine plastic with. So setting up different tool cribs for that is important. And I'm going to go flip over to the actual technology database right now and make sure I got that right there. So this is the TechDB. There's a few ways you can get to here inside of CAMWorks, which let me just show you real quick. There's a button right here, Technology Database. And then you can also go to CAMWorks. I've got 3 different versions right here on my computer. CAMWorks 2020, scroll down, Technology Database Application. Well, we've already got it open just for speed. And I'm going to go over to my tool cribs over here. And this is the default TechDB that comes with CAMWorks when you install it. So I'm going to go to Tool Crib 2, which has tools in it already. These are going to be kind of your favorite tools, the ones you always, you know, that you're always going to use a lot. But let's say I got a new machine. You know, I got, for instance, I'm going to use, we've got a Herco back at the shop. So I'm going to create a Herco tool crib. And one way you can do that is if you want to create a brand new tool crib, is you can click up here where it says new. Just click on that. It's going to ask you enter new name. So I'm going to type in Herco. Total number of stations, I'm going to go 24. I think that's what ours has. And I'm going to hit the save button here. And now I've got a brand new tool crib. And you can see here, drop down, you can, you know, it's shown up already. I'm going to add a tool. So I'm going to go over here, click add. It's going to give you a drop down of all the different kinds of tools that are inside of the TechDB. My first tool I'm going to do is I'm going to add in a flat end mill. So I'm going to click on that. This is going to bring up our select tool feature. And I've got, you know, it'll show you all of these different tools in here. These are the ones that are kind of, these are the default ones that come with CAMWorks. And you can see here too, you've got an active column, and some have check marks. Now the ones that have check marks can be pulled automatically, or can actually be pulled automatically and can be pulled into manually into a tool crib. If they're not active, then they can't. So that's an important thing to make sure you pick an active tool. If it's not active, for instance, I'm going to click down here. You just hit this little check mark, save. Now that tool's active. Simple as that. But I'm going to look for a 1/2 inch end mill. I'm going to go with tool 68. That looks good. You've got the info over here describing what it is. Got a 1/2 inch end mill, carbide, 4 flute, 1 inch length of cut. That's what all these syllables mean here. So I'm going to hit select. Now that brings it in. Now an important thing whenever you're manually doing this inside the TechDB is to make sure you add a station number. Now if you're doing this inside of CAMWorks, as you're programming, it'll automatically enter in a tool station number for you. So, but in the TechDB, it's important to make sure you put this number in. So here, I'm going to hit 1. That's tool number 1. And you can also select the holder here. So holder ID, got a little option here, so select holder. Click on this. Now it's going to show you the holders we have. I'm looking for a 1/2 inch one. I believe it's right here. And then, yeah, and here the comment kind of gives you a description, and it's showing you different information over here. So that looks good. Hit select. Got that. All right, I'm going to hit save. That way it'll populate these fields. Good. All right, I'm going to add another tool. I'm going to go back here. I'm going to hit a flat end mill. Now I'm going to look for, actually I'm going to do an 1 and 1/8 tool. Well, I don't see it, so I'm going to create one. So I'm going to select like this one right here. And in order to create a tool, you have to copy it. Now the reason you copy it is because all this information over here is important. And if it's not there, if you just create new and you forget to add it, it could create massive problems down the road. So it's important to know that for tools, you have to copy them. So I'm going to hit copy. I'm going to change my diameter to 1 and 1/8. Shank, just 1 inch. And I'm also going to change the tool ID. This doesn't get automatically done. So it's important that you, if you're doing something like this, is actually change it up here. And I'm going to change this right here. The comment. That way, somebody doesn't, even though, you know, the diameter of the tool is 1 and 1/8, someone who is pulling that tool in, if they see the comment that says, you know, 7/8 or whatever, there's no confusion there. So it's important to make sure you do that. You can also put, you know, more descriptions and vendor and all, you know, there's lots of information you can enter in here. So I'm going to hit save. And now you'll see on my column over here, I've got 1 and 1/8 end mill carbide. So I'm going to select that. And I'm going to assign a holder for it. I'm looking for 1 inch right there, 1 inch diameter rigid tool. There we go. I'm going to give this station number 2. So I'm going to hit save. So that's how you can create like brand new, completely open, empty, totally empty. Or let's say you don't want to go completely empty, but you want to add to it. Well, let's say I'm going to go back to toolcrib 2, excuse me. And you can also copy a tool crib. So I'm going to copy this. Now I've got a copy of it. And I can edit the name. You know. And I can name this, you know, Larry's CNC. You know. You name it whatever you want. Oh, it doesn't like my apostrophe. My apologies. There. Yeah, so now you can add tools here the same way. Just make sure, the big thing here, make sure you're putting a station number. And you can also delete tool cribs too. You know, let's say you get rid of the Herco. You don't want that tool crib anymore. You can just go up here, delete. Are you sure you want to delete this record? I'm going to click cancel right now because I'm actually going to use this in a little bit. And if I, you know, finished here, I can get out of this area by just clicking like mill up here, or I can click mill over here, and now I'm back to the main screen. Oh, right there. All right, so that's setting up a tool crib, pretty straightforward. Now we're going to set up a machine. You know, what information will you need for when you set your machine up? You're going to want max feed rate, rapid feed rate, max spindle speed, estimated tool change time, some more information. Those are the main big four for estimating time for machining. Machine Rep and manufacturer website is a great place to get this information for your machine. Setting up a machine as a default, I'll show you how to do that. I can show you, we're going to also explain how to prioritize toolcrib tools only. So it's going to look in your toolcrib, and it's going to try to program just with those tools. Or not, well, first excuse me, I'm getting ahead of myself. There, it's going to look at those tools and try to do it first with those. And if it can't, then it's going to go to the main tool library, which is in the TechDB, and it's going to pull those tools in. But let's say you only want to use toolcrib tools. You've got some machine you only ever do, you have 7 tools in there, and that's the only thing you're ever going to put on there. This is how you would do that. There's an option to set that up in a machine. So let's flip back to the TechDB. And I'm going to go over here to my machines column, and I've got the defaults that are coming in here. So I'm going to just select mill inch, and I'm going to create a tool, or create a machine, excuse me. And in order to create a machine, again, this is where you copy it. So I'm going to copy this mill inch. And again, the reason it has you copy is because there's a lot of information in here, and if you miss something, then it can create issues down the line. So it's important. Let's say I'm going to name this is my Herco. You know, I'm just going to call Herco CNC mill. And description, this is my 3-axis. Post processor, right now is set to kind of the tutorial ones that come with CAMWorks. I have a lot of posts on my computer because I have some customer posts that come in here. I'm going to pick this Herco, which is a 5-axis, but it'll do 3-axis also. Machine duty here, this is a big one for feeds and speeds. If depending on the duty of it, it's going to, it might change the feeds and speeds that get brought in. You have the option here, horsepower. You've got average indexing time. So that's if you have, 4 or 5 axes, the amount of time it takes to get into a new position. If you had a 4 or 5 axis indexing, this is where you would set that 4th or 5th axis. A big one is going to be your max feed rate. So that's an important thing to know what that number is and to make sure that's accurate. And same thing here with rapid feed rate, to know what your rapid feed rate is so it can adjust that appropriately, excuse me. And then table travel, this is just the size of your table. This does not mean, if I put 55 inches in here and I have a part that I model that's 60, CAMWorks isn't going to just stop it. It's not going to be like, I can't program it. This is more, so it knows where to go. Down here, you've got tool for the tool changer. You've got some options here. And here you can select your tool crib. This will be the default that it'll always come up whenever you bring this tool in, or this machine in, excuse me. Down here, and you see here, it's already got my tool cribs that we just created. So I'm going to select my Herco. You have the option here, bidirectional or unidirectional, so it'll only turn one way. Number of tools, it'll just show you what you created, what it was already set up that way. Then here, where we talked about tool crib priority. So this is on by default. So this is going to bring in, it's going to look at the tools in your tool crib first and try to use those tools for the operations that you have. And if it can't find the right tool there, it's going to go to the tool database in the TechDB and bring in the correct tool or drill. A lot of times it's drills. And then use tool crib tools only. If I check this, then it's only going to use those tools. Now, one of the biggest caveats here is if it can't figure out how to machine that pocket or or open profile or whatever operation you have, it's just not going to do it then. So that's the only caveat with use tool crib tools only. You do limit yourself, but if you're only using 7 tools, that's it, then okay. But you just have to be aware of this. That's why it's off by default. It's off. Well, at least in the main one. If you actually created a machine, depending on how you set it up, it might be different. you can tell it what the spindle taper is. This doesn't actually change anything, this part, but I find it useful. That way you have a record of it somewhere. You can, put it down there. And down here, tool change swap time. This is important to know, how long it takes to actually change a tool. This also helps with estimating machine time. So it's an important thing there. Just a solid average. And also, as we're talking about this, the more detailed you get with the information you enter in here, the more accurate, or the closer it's actually, the estimated time is going to be compared to what actually would be machined. So you know what I mean? Where it's the closer they are. And then down here, max RPM. This is a really big one. This is an important number to make sure you put it in correctly. You don't want to blow up your spindle. Then down here, if this was a 5-axis machine, for instance, I'm just going to set this right now to 5-axis. The global retract distance, this is the distance it's going to move away from the part whenever it switches to a new setup. If it's if you're doing pre-positioning, it's going to move back 10 inches. Here's your rotary min and rotary max. So this can go 360 degrees negative and 360 degrees positive. Minimum, for both ways, so it can spin completely on a circle all the way around. Tilt min and tilt max. This is going to vary wildly depending on the machine you have. So here, we could be talking about like maybe -30 on a certain machine, and 120. Okay, that's pretty close. Then down here, rotary axis. Obviously, depending on which axis your machine rotates about. That's an important thing to know, the axis. Not, you're going to see A, B, and C, in your code, but it's important to know what axis it goes about. Direction that it can go, you can set it to clockwise, counterclockwise, or both. And then tilt axis is the same way. You just select the axis that you rotate about, and whether it can rotate both directions or just clockwise or counterclockwise. I'm going to put this back to none because this is just a 3-axis machine. Everything in here, I'm going to keep it set the same. And I told you we could, set a machine as a default. So here, right now, the default machine that gets brought in with this standard TechDB that gets installed with every new install is going to be just this mil inch. But I want my Herco to be that one. So I'm going to click this little checkbox. It says default machine. So I've got all this information up here. I've got my post set. All my machine duties are correct. I'm going to hit save. Now my Herco is the default. You can see here in parentheses it's got default set. So we'll move back to the main screen, and I've got my Herco there. All right. So now features and strategies. This is a big one to understand. So first thing, importance of feature definitions. If you look at this part over here that we've got, this is just a slide that I took from our training manual, and it kind of gives a good explanation of not every, but a lot of different features. Most of us would call this a slot. Well, it's actually a pocket because it's closed on all edges. A slot has an open air segment somewhere, like up here. So it's important to understand those definitions. That way, when you're trying to teach the TechDB what you want, you're speaking the same language. You're not trying to explain Greek to somebody who only understands English. So here we'll go over feature conditions, the different settings that you can create. And then I'll show you how to modify strategies. And there's 2 ways you can do this. So in the TechDB, which we were in before, and then inside CAMWorks as you program, where I talked about earlier, where you can teach it how you want to program. So I'm going to show you how to do that. And then creating strategies. So you can do that again in the TechDB and inside CAMWorks as you program. So we're going to go, I'm going to flip over to actually to CAMWorks. And I've got a part here, just a simple, rectangle with a pocket in it. And when I created this, I just rectangular pockets, my feature. And you can see here in brackets is the strategy. It's a rough finish strategy. And I've already created the operation plans. Actually, I've already created toolpaths too, just for time's sake. So I've got my rough mill, contour mill, and then, in the strategy here, this rough finish was just doing a rough mill and a contour mill. Well, I've got this, fillet up here, so I added a corner round, an 1/8 inch corner round to go around there. And I've got a lot of parts that have the same thing, so I want to set a new strategy. I want to create a new strategy so I don't have to keep adding a contour mill every time I program. So in order to do that, I added this contour mill to, when I program, I just right-clicked, 2.5 axis mill operations, contour mill, and I created this mill, contour mill 2. And now I'm going to save all of this back into the TechDB. I'm going to go back to the feature tree. I'm going to right-click on rectangular pocket 1. I'm going to go to Save Operation Plan. Now in here you have a couple options. You can create a new feature condition, which I'm going to do, or I could override it. If, let's say, I don't like the rough finish that it's doing always, and I just want to override it so I'd never have to look at what's existing, what's already in the TechDB. I don't want it anymore. You could do that too. Here, but I'm going to create new. I'm going to create a new one. And down here you got select or new strategy. So here you can select the strategy you wanted if you wanted to override too. You got an option down here where it says new. It's in brackets. So I'm going to click new. Got new strategy. So I'm going to name this rough finish and corner round. And you also have an option to set this as a default strategy. So there are even default strategies inside CAMWorks. So, but I don't want that set as a default. I still want the rough finish to be the default. So I've got that. I'm going to hit my green check mark. And now here it's going to show you the feature conditions. And it'll show you, feature type. It's a rectangular pocket. Subtype is blind. Default strategy, that's the name that we created. Right now, the stock material group is aluminum alloys because this is, when I programmed this, the part was aluminum. So it's going to look at the specific things here. For instance, this box width is a very weird number, 2.9035. So that's the box width. The feature depth is a 1/4 inch. And this, you can modify this, and I'll show you in a little bit how to change this. So that looks pretty good. I'm going to hit OK for right now. So now I've got a rough finish corner round strategy. Now, just to show you how quick this works, I'm actually going to delete this. And here's actually I'm going to show you a tip too. If you hold down Shift and then hit delete, it automatically, sorry if I just blew up your eardrums. I'm going to mute my computer. All right, so now I'm going to actually insert a pocket and show you that the strategy is already there. So I'm going to right-click on Mill Part Setup 1, 2.5 axis feature. I go to my pocket. I'm going to select the bottom face here. I've got also check for taper and fillets. I'm looking for that fillet there. End condition. I'm going to click on this top. I'm going to auto detect so it finds that easier. And then in strategy here, in the drop down, I've got my rough finish corner round. So if I look here, I've got my rough mill, got my contour mill, and my second contour mill, which is going to be the corner round. And if I wanted to, I could click on, give me a shortcut to the actual TechDB number, which is 1259. So we've got that. I'll show you multiple ways how to actually get there. So that looks good. I'm going to hit my green check mark. Looks great. I'm going to generate operation plans for that. You can see it brought all those in already. My rough mill, contour mill 2. Generate toolpath. I'm going to simulate this bad boy. We'll slow it down a little bit. Now let's do my rough mill, contour mill, and my corner round. So there we go. So now we've created those, these strategies. Now let's say I wanted to, if you're inside a rough mill and you're like, well, actually, I'm going to look at the strategy itself. I want to see what it is. So I'm going to double click on rough mill 1. I'm going to go to optimize. And here under TechDB, it gives you this, you got a button. It tells you the number, 1259. So I'm going to click on 1259. And this brings me straight to the rough finish corner round feature in operations area. So here you can see the feature conditions. I've only got one feature condition right now for this strategy type. And if you look, well, also just to back up just a hair, you've got a drop down here for features, all the features that CAMWorks has. So you've got a hole, countersunk, all these things here. And each one has, multiple feature strategies that you can use. So this one I've got, rough finish corner round. My feature condition, I've only got one right now. And if you look, so the feature conditions over here, I've got a blind. I can also set it to through. If it was, if it was a through, I could, it would be set to that. A base attribute, if there was a bottom radius, I could set that, and it would look at the bottom radius, and actually it could pick the correct tool to bring in. Stock material, right now, when I created it, it was aluminum. I had my stock type set to aluminum. Well, I want to set this to everything. I want to use a strategy for everything. And down here, you've got, the minimum box width and maximum box width in this range here. So 0 to 2.903525. That is a lot of numbers. Anything in there, in that range, any rectangular pocket within that range, this strategy could be used for. So that's why you'll see a lot of default strategies will have 0 to 1,000, because they know, like, whatever you're creating, it's going to fit. So here, just because I'm super anal about stuff and I don't like that many decimals, I'm going to just do 3.0. And then here's my feature depth, so 0 to 1/4 inch. And again here, if the pocket is 3/8, this feature strategy will not work for it because it's in the feature conditions. So that's an important thing when you're creating strategies, is to understand that just because it worked for this one condition, if you don't open that condition up at all, it won't work for something different that's just outside the boundaries of what's here. And this is important to, I've seen a lot of guys, they'll do 0 to 3 inches and then maybe 3 to 6 inches, or 3.0001 to 6. And then, create a different tool down here. So this feature conditions, that's an important part to understand. And that's tied directly over here. And then down here, you've got operations. So these are all the operations that are tied to this feature condition. And as you go through each one, you'll notice on the left, don't I want to proceed? Actually, no, I'm going to save it. See, actually, I did that by accident, but it's a good thing to show. I wanted to make sure I pointed this out. It actually has a nice feature here where it says, do you want to proceed without saving the current changes? So let's say I just changed, the stock material type and the box width, and I forgot to hit save. So it's going to tell me, like, hey, you changed some stuff. And I'm going to go, oh, crap, no, I don't want to leave. I'm going to hit save. So now I know I've just changed this condition, so now it'll work. So I'm going to look at contour mill, and you can see over here, when I created it, it was using this very specific tool. So in the future, if I use this feature condition in this strategy, it's going to use this tool. Well, let's say you wanted to change it to use an expression. So this is an important thing. If you've got, if you look at a lot of the default strategies that come with CAMWorks, it actually expression. They use a lot of them use expressions. So look at the feature dimension, length, width, largest inscribed circle. You can put an addition. Let's say for instance here I want to do largest inscribed circle. My constant for this is my lower expression, by the way. I'm going to do multiply, and I'm going to say the largest inscribed circle, which is the largest circle you can fit inside that pocket. We'll do like 25%, the largest inscribed circle. Then tool diameter for the upper expression. So also set the largest inscribed circle. I'm going to multiply that, and let's say I'm going to kind of narrow this down. I'll do like 375. So any tool in this range you could use. So if I save, I'm going to hit save now. Yeah, and you can see over here it's showing me tool selection. Got all the different ones it's using. And depending on how detailed you want to get, you can really go in here and really fine tune this stuff and get it exactly how you like. And one more thing I want to show you guys. Oh, and you can also I'm going to show you how to copy a feature while you're in here, while you're already in. So I've got, my feature condition right now is I'm going to change my box. I'm going to, I've got some widths that are a little bit bigger than 3 inches. So I'm going to go up here. I'm going to hit copy. Now I've got a new feature condition inside the rough finish, excuse me, corner round. And I'm going to change my box width. I'm going to do 3.001. I'm going to do 6. So 6 inches. I'm going to save that. And now you can see here, it's got my columns there. Simple as that. If I could go down here and I could start adding operations, you have rough mill, contour mill. I could delete stuff. I could, change all of these options over here. And another thing, this is new actually to, I think it was Service Pack 3 of 2019. They started adding the ability to turn off some columns inside of CAMWorks in the TechDB, which is fun because you might have, there's a lot of stuff here. So let's say I don't care about the base attribute. If I click on this button right here, I could turn off, the base attribute. Now that's gone, or subtype, or spindle. And so now I've narrowed the field down. This is really, really, really useful in tooling, and when you're searching for tools, in my opinion. You can also change the width of stuff. If you want to narrow things down a little bit, you make, you've got a comment somewhere. So that's useful there. Let's go back to, and one more thing. You also have each operation you go through is going to have different depth criteria. So here you get feature depth. You can add plus or minus, and the same thing. You've got, you've got math, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. You can change. You also do feature depth, base radius. You also tell it to always machine at this depth, no matter what. It doesn't matter if it's a 5-inch deep pocket. I could tell it only ever machine 1/4 inch deep. And then you also have operation parameters here. Click on this. So here I've got, a bunch of different things. Well, these are the exact same tabs that you have inside of CAMWorks as you're programming. All of the same tabs are here. You don't have the nice, neat pictures, but all the information is still here. So, yeah. I'm just going to click X on that. And let's go back to the PowerPoint. Oh, wrong one. And, then user customization, which I just talked about. Adjusting column widths, an important thing, a little review of what we just talked about. You can hide columns, rearrange the order of the columns, or you can flip them around. Display only specific columns, which you can actually filter through there if you're only, this is also really, really useful in when you're searching for tools. New to this one is saving custom TechDB user interface settings, which is, let me go back to the TechDB. So when it says user interface settings, that's like these column widths, things I have displayed. I can go to the settings tab here, and it got customization settings. This functionality allows you to save and restore customization settings for TechDB app grid, column visibility, and order location. So I can save my settings. I'm going to save it on the desktop here. TechDB grid options, and you notice it's got a special .cwjs. So I'm going to hit and click save here, and you can name this whatever you want. So there, I just saved my settings successfully. So if I, got a new machine or a new computer, I could just load those right up, and boom, I'm ready to go. Now, again, this is different than linking to the database or importing the database. These are just settings for the user interface. The import database and link database, that's for strategies and feature conditions and stuff like that. Let's go back. And exporting TechDB as a .csv file. That's coming soon. Right now it's slated to be CAMWorks 2020 Service Pack 2 or 3. It's in development yet. They're still working on it. But in a .csv file, that stands for comma-separated values, which is just a basic, it's a simplified version of an Excel file. Really powerful there to be able to export that and just, put it in a spreadsheet where you can see all your feature conditions, your strategies. It'll be really, really useful once it comes out. Hopefully in Service Pack 2, but no later than Service Pack 3 from what we've been told by them. Then importing and linking to an existing TechDB. So do I need to import a TechDB, and why would I like to link to a TechDB? So do I need to import to a TechDB? Not necessarily, but every time a CAMWorks installation is upgraded to a newer version, the data structures and associated with the TechDB undergo upgrades. So if you have customized data within the technology database associated with your existing CAMWorks installation, it's imperative you number one, always back up your data. There's just first and foremost, always back up your data. And then you can import the customized TechDB, and then this will bring everything forward, and you'll have some of the new features involved. But the biggest thing there is, if you have strategies already created that you've put a lot of time in, and want to bring your machines forward, importing a TechDB can be really, really useful. And why would I like to link to a TechDB? So multiple users can link to the same database, leveraging the strategies and feature conditions the user has created specific to their individual shop. This is standardizing programming. So you can have a linked database that you can, put it on a shared file server, and everybody can look at it. And you're all using the same technology database, so everyone kind of, creates a uniform thing. We all know if you got 5 programmers, each one programs can be completely differently. And you might have one guy who's always kind of off a little bit. Well, this can help him standardize some of that programming where it's, the guys running the machine are seeing consistency throughout. It supports that. Instead of just, having to try to train a guy over and over again, you train your TechDB on how you want to program. So let's switch over to the technology database. And number one, when you do this, close down CAMWorks. So I'm going to hit save. I'm going to close this down so we don't interfere with anything. And if you link to a database, that means it's the same version year. So if I have I'm in 2020, I think the only TechDB I have is the default one. But it's the same thing. If I had another one or on a shared full server, I could hit browse, and I don't have my network up yet since I didn't want to set my VPN up for this. But I could go to a networked drive, and training TechDB, I could link to that. Find the same version year and just hit OK. And then importing in TechDB. This is if you're going from a different version year, if you're going from 2019 to 2020, you might want to do that. You would browse to it. Go here. I'm going to go to CAMWorks Data 2019 TechDB. Oh, I'm going to go to the original TechDB. Click on this one and hit OK. And it's going to ask me, what data I want to import, all of that, and create a backup copy. I'm going to uncheck that, and I'm going to hit import. And it's going to take a little bit. You'll know right away if it works, though, if it goes to 22%. It'll sit at 22% for a little bit, depending on how fast your computer is. I did a fresh reboot about an hour ago, so it shouldn't take, or about 2 hours ago, so it shouldn't take too long. But it's looking at the data and it's bringing it up. Now, if there's an error or something, it's going to tell you right away. You're going to get a little red box up here. It'll say, there's a number of different ones, but at least I always assume it's red. I'm colorblind, so I've been told by reputable people it's red. But if it goes to 22%, it's working. Just give it a minute while it does its thing. And it'll go and go and go. But here it's going to bring in I just told it to bring in the original TechDB from the 2019 version of CAMWorks that I have on my computer. And, it always takes longer when you're watching it. These are always fun. Especially on a webinar where I'm talking to myself. But, all right, I'm going to give that just a sec. Come on. There it goes. That was a big jump. There. So now it says data migration is done successfully. So this is, I believe actually this is a training TechDB. Yeah, it is. So I brought in all my new machines there. Yeah. So that's how you link and then import. If you link again, you want to do that if it's the same version year. You can't link to a future version or a previous version. Give it the same version year. You can import from a previous version, but you can't import from a future version. So that's an important thing too. That's why you always create backups. And and just to show you guys where the default location for the TechDB is, I'm going to go to my file or Windows Explorer, which is on the other screen. In your C drive, you got CAMWorks data, and I've got CAMWorks 2020 right here, TechDB, and then this is going to be your default location. I already have backups of my stuff. I keep multiple backups everywhere. But it's an important thing to always make sure you back that up, because if you create a future version and you delete all of your old versions, and you got one guy running, you just updated 2020 and you got one guy running 18, well, he's got to update the 2020 then to use the same TechDB if you have kind of gotten rid of everything. So I think that's, let's see. So that's the end of my main presentation. Now we got Q&A. Let me just try to unmute everybody. Unmute all. All participants are unmuted. Yeah, so if you've got any questions, Brian and I are here. We can go over whatever.
You have to unmute yourself that he gave permission to be able to unmute, guys.
Oh, yeah,
so
yeah.
You should be able to talk.
Yeah.
Should be
or
able to
type it in,
icon.
whichever one. Yeah. I know we covered quite a bit and really just scratching the surface for what you can do in CAMWorks, but yeah. Any specific questions, bring them out.
Anybody learn anything? They want to say hi.
Oh yeah, that's another one. There's no options to unmute us. All right, thanks, Rob. All right, make sure I'm doing this right. So Jeff asked, how many different feature conditions can you create? I think it's unlimited, really.
Yeah, I've never heard of a limit.
No. I was at a customer a couple months ago, and they had one feature condition, a different boring cycle, had, I think, 300 different feature conditions in that one condition type. Like, so one feature, and then one strategy actually had 380 some. Yeah. So like there really is no limit for those. How do I get? Yeah, my apologies for the microphone stuff. This is my first time actually driving this.
Slide the participants over to attendees, and then I think you unmute, because you can unmute panelists and unmute attendees, Matt.
Okay. Ooh. Oh wait. Oh, come on, Matt. Figure this out. Oh, here we go. Here. I'll just do it for each of you. All right. So there. Okay. Now you should be able to unmute yourself.
You
Sorry
should
about
be
that,
able
guys.
to hear us now.
There we go.
Yep, we hear you, Rob. And then Jeff Faulkner just asked another great question. When you link to TechDB, will it overwrite your saved database or just add to it? When you link the database, it does not overwrite. It keeps the main copy, and it just basically allows that. It just says, hey, I'm going to use that database, Jeff. So like just say you have your database linked to it, you're going to use that database. One of your coworkers could also link to the database. He's going to then use that database. Okay, and then when you import the database, I think that's kind of where you're different, because the terms between import and link are different. When you import a TechDB, it will not only convert versions of it, it will add new things that are created to your existing custom TechDB, such as if you take a CAMWorks 2019 technology database and import it into CAMWorks 20, it's going to add some probing operations, because probing is new to CAMWorks that didn't exist in CAMWorks in 2019, so therefore it didn't exist in the TechDB before. So it's going to add those new fields to your database, and it will populate some of those like new probing routine defaults, and then you can come back and customize them in your database. So it adds to your existing one. I think hopefully that answers your question, Jeff. That's fine, Jeff. If you don't have a mic, some people don't. I can read your question, so
yeah.
Let me know if that answers your question, Jeff.
Awesome.
Great.
Does it matter which one you import to or from? If you import an old one to a new one, or if you import your new one to your old DB, will it always just populate additional, or is that where you can overwrite and lose any new strategies and things?
So it's not going to go backwards a version. So you're not going to go from a new to an old. So you're not going to go backwards versions. It's always forward compatible. But one, I always make backups, so you're in doubt, so you can always revert back to your backup. I'm not sure if I'm following you exactly, Rich, but if you have, say you have two customized databases in the exact same location and you import it, it's going to overwrite that existing one, and that's what that little checkbox Matt showed. Matt, if you flip your string to the database, when it'll automatically create a backup of the database before it replaces it. That's why I like to leave that checked when I run the import process. So when it replaces the new database with the old one, there's a backup of the old one that was there before. So like for instance, when people import the database, when you install CAMWorks, it's coming with a default TechDB. You import your custom one, it's going to put your custom one right in that exact same location where the default TechDB was. So that default TechDB is gone and is no longer there. But if you created a backup folder, it renames the database, leaves it the same location, and calls it backup. So Matt, can you flip to the TechDB on your screen here? And I can show you that option. I think this might be in line with both what Jeff was asking as well.
Yeah.
Is that create backup? So if your database is pointed to the same location when you import, it's going to create a backup of the one that's already in that location. With that checkbox, create their backup copy check at the bottom.
Yeah, which is right here.
Does that help, Rich?
Sure.
Great. And Jeff, I hope that might have put some icing on the cake to your original question. Any other questions, guys?
Oh, oh, thanks, Jeff. Yeah. Awesome. Cool. And Rich, I'm glad you were able to attend this one.
Yeah, thank you for the props on the webinars, Jeff. I know you've seen you in a couple of them here. That's great. That's something new. We're trying to help, obviously, let us know we're out there, let people know to help us and kind of help customers learn some new things. I know the database is always a big hot topic, but it's also one that can get really in depth, and you can't cover everything in an hour presentation, but we might do something maybe a little more advanced. So guys, if you have some ideas of things that you guys think would be great for a webinar you'd like to see, shoot us an email, as a support or us direct, one or the other, for an idea, and we'll see if we can put together a presentation on it. Because I know it's tough to cover everything, all the topics in TechDB, because I think Matt kind of crunched it down and accelerated to cover the high points, the most common things to help simplify things. So. But yeah, if you guys ideas, we're open to taking someone in and see what we can put together. So.
Okay.
And if you guys think of any questions you have later, you can always shoot us an email. Thank you again. You can get product information, info@cutmetalfast.com. Our phone number's there. You can hit us on technical support, support@cutmetalfast.com. Definitely visit us on our webpage. So yeah, if you guys think of anything later, shoot us a question or ideas. That's just something you guys be helpful to see. We'll see if we can come up with something in one of our future things, because we do have a list of webinars we continue to plan on doing here of different topics, but we're always open to other ideas to help you guys out. So thank you guys again.
Thank you.
Thanks.